Welcome to Live from the Space at 100's Taylor with one of today's leading pop voices in Nashville, Dylan Rockoff.
What's going on?
Dylan, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.
Man, we've wanted to have you for so long because you're such an admired and respected musical figure here, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of it.
So Dylan, let's start with that. Like, you're Nashville-based. You're from PA.
Yep.
You've had already a great career. Mm-hmm. But everyone here loves you and admires you, like friends of our show, like Bree Kennedy.
Sure.
Whenever you say the word Dylan Rockoff in this town, people smile.
Oh man, thank you.
People just have beautiful things to say wherever you go in Nashville.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about like the community aspect that you've built here, because it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for saying all of those things. That's the person that I would like to be in this community. So the fact that like the energy that I'm intending to put out like is, showing its fruits, or however you want to say that. But yeah, as far as building community in Nashville, I think I love this place so much because like pretty immediately when I moved to town in 2018, like I had a pretty good introduction to the community, and everybody was really warm and accepting of me and just wanting to like help me out and get me into like co-writes and like give me my first like writing sessions and my first shows. And I think that like Nashville, especially, like what really attracted me to Nashville is the fact that the community is so warm and welcoming, like I said. And yeah, I mean, I think that like Bree Kennedy, Ava Sapelza, Tristan Bushman, all those people that I met when I initially moved to town, the reason that I had stayed and I'm still here because they introduced me to all these people and were so willing to help out and get me into the right rooms and with the right people to get me shows and co-writes and sessions and all that stuff. And I have to thank my management team and my family. Like, I'm just really lucky to have been so supported in my life, and I just want to give that back to people. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy, whether it's in music or anything else.
I think you nailed it. I think there's not really like a jealousy. There's a friendly competition of like, let's all grow together, let's all make it together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that that's a great way of saying it. And whenever I can, with anybody else is moving to town, like anybody else new, I want to pay back that same respect and that same effort that was given to me to lift other people up. And I think you said it perfectly. Like, I think we all rise together, and that's the mentality around here.
Yeah.
And I love that so much about Nashville, and I'm really grateful to be a part of something like that.
I love it. I love it, Dylan. Let's go to your early life for a second. Let's go to Loyalsock Township in PA, right?
Yeah.
And you're a little league baseball player.
Yes,
you're
sir.
Kicking ass playing baseball, man.
Yeah, man.
What was the moment where you're like, okay, man, I love baseball, but the music, the arts, it's giving me an itch.
Sure.
Do you remember like a moment?
Yeah, man, that's a great question because I think that that's like a really important like turning point in my life because I was so into sports, and growing up around the Little League World Series, like I was exposed to this idea of like playing sports and having that be the way that people get to know you, like as an athlete. And I wanted to be a professional athlete straight up when I was a kid growing up playing baseball and basketball. And my dad was a coach, and like, I was just always around it. And
you were really good.
Well, I'd still like pal around and like play baseball, basketball, wherever I can. I definitely like consider myself to be an athlete. I don't know, like, we'll have to hoop sometime. Right. You make the decision for yourself or something like that. But
I don't know if you want to hoop with me, but I'll try.
I love running around. I always just like love running around. And I'm proud of my athletic ability.
Cool.
And I like to, get out and run around whenever I can. But thank you for saying that. But anyway, I think the moment for me was like, I kind of got my heights like a little later than everybody. So like, I was really little growing up. Yeah. And so around 6th grade, like, I was playing like baseball, I was playing like Babe Ruth baseball, I was playing basketball. I stopped playing football because like I was kind of not as big and like hits hurt a little more. But yeah, so it was around that time we had our guitar unit in 6th grade. But my mom started me and all my siblings on piano. So like I had an introduction to music, and my brother was a singer, my mom sang around the house all the time. My dad had a guitar around the house, he wrote songs before, so I was always kind of around it. But then piano, like it was really traditional training, and then guitar, it was kind of the same thing, like very basic stuff, but like there was something about it that like, I don't know, I was so captivated by like all of the possibilities on it. Like it's all right there, you can see it all.
Yeah.
And I would come home, like I would play like Smoke on the Water like 40 times and Iron Man like 40 times.
That's awesome.
Until I got it just right. And I think my parents realized like, okay, this is something you seem to really enjoy. Like, do you want us to get you some
And you're
lessons?
not horrible, probably. Like they must have felt that
they must have felt like there was something here.
I think he's not terrible, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, thankfully again, like I have a family that like recognizes like my passions and saw that that was something that lit me up and wanted to get me started on the right path to like take it seriously. Yeah. So my guitar unit, I would also say Guitar Hero was a big reason why I started playing guitar.
I love that.
Because, you know, 6th grade, I'm not, you know, spending as much time outside playing sports because I'm not feeling as great about like where I'm at athletically. I spent a lot of time playing Guitar Hero and like wanting to pick up a guitar and learn how to do it, and also introduced to all this music that like I'd never heard before, and my parents all listened to. So like, you know, like my mom always tells a story that like I was playing Freebird on Guitar Hero, and I came up and was like, Mom, you ever heard this song Freebird by Leonard Skinner? Like, yeah, we've heard that song. So it was the combination of all that, and that got me playing guitar. I got into a school of music where like I started taking lessons really seriously, doing big productions, and I grew up playing like in a couple bands like in my area, wrote some songs,
like
played some albums. Clyde Frog's one of them, Dylan and Maverick. It was just, you know, my buddy Maverick and I did a duo thing. And then I graduated. I went to Northeastern School in Boston, right next door to Berkeley. That's where a lot of my friends down here went to. Did 5 years of school, and got, you know, I ended up getting my degree in finance, but I was around music all the time, and I just kind of kept building it from there. I started really writing on my own because all the writing I'd done up to that point had been like in a band or like a, you know, a group. Started writing on my own with like some of the kids in my dorm, and that's kind of how I all got started. And I released my first song as Dylan Rockoff in 2015.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Yeah,
a lot to unpack there. But can I just give a shout out like to people like your father, because he's a doctor. Yeah. Actually, my dad's a doctor as well. But like just like the parents that like support their kids, even when like from families that are not all artists. Yeah. Like kudos to that. Man.
Absolutely. I'm really lucky.
Unsung heroes.
Shout out to Mom and Dad. You guys are the best.
Absolutely, Dylan. So Dylan, let me ask you about some of the bands that you were playing with growing up.
Sure.
Like Clyde Frogs.
Sure.
Because people don't like, you were like very serious with these bands. I mean, you played like 200 shows in Pennsylvania alone.
Sure.
You really got some muscle there. Like, what do you remember from this time?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. I think the biggest thing that like I took from those bands was just like the quantity of like the stage time and the opportunity to like perform live and like be in front of crowds and like learn how to like work a crowd, learn like what crowds respond to, what I do well as a performer, how I engage the crowd, and kind of just get to know myself like as a performer more than anything. Also, we spent a good amount of time writing and collaborating together. When we went out and played shows, the majority of the music we played was covers. But I also think that like spending all of that time like getting inside of like songs that I really loved and understanding like how they moved and how they worked, what the harmony was, what all the rhythms were, and kind of getting that music inside of me played a huge part in like the music that I ended up deciding like I wanted to write. And like I picked the things that I really liked about that music by getting inside of them and like really grilling them into my brain by playing them all the time.
Sure.
And that came out in like the songs that we wrote.
It's like a discipline, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's like the 10,000 hours concept where you know you do anything for long enough, eventually become a master. And I think that was a huge part of like the time that I put in on my instrument, whether it was vocals or guitar. And once in a while I'd switch it up and play bass and drums or whatever, but like not nearly as many hours put in on that. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely live performance and that experience, also the ability to just like kind of shake off the cobwebs of like songwriting and like just give that a shot for the first time.
Right.
And also like kind of having the first experience of the feedback loop of like writing something, playing a song that you wrote, seeing how people react to it. And you know, it's funny looking back at like some of the songs that I wrote back then. Some of them I'm like, wow, that's a really, really cool one. But some of them I'm like, ooh, that's a dud. You know?
Well, you have to grow, right?
I think it's like Paul McCartney always said, you have to write 100 songs before you get the one good one.
You can't come out with a garden or a Pennsylvania out of the womb.
Well, thank you.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate you saying that.
Exactly, man.
Totally, yeah. So I think that like having those bands as like an outlet and a group to kind of exercise a lot of those muscles, whether it be songwriting or live performance, and also like that really got me interested in the business of music, having been out there and like we were playing all these shows and we were making a good amount of money and like we don't have any expenses because we're kids. You know, I started playing in Clyde Frog when I was 15 and Dylan and Maverick when I was 14. So we saved up enough money, bought a PA. Then we traveled around and played more shows because we had a PA, more places we could play. And then we saved up our money so we could record an album, get studio time. Yeah. So it's just like kind of running a business, which is ultimately why I ended up going to school for business, because like I really got enamored with that aspect of it. But I never lost like the lust for like the creativity and like the craft of writing a song, excuse me, and performing it. Is something I really fell in love with, and that was like I owe that to my first groups of people that I played with.
Yeah, that hunger you have is pretty extraordinary.
Thank you.
I could talk to you for 17 hours, man, but let me move on to 2021, man, because your journey is so fascinating. But 2021. You got a chance to return to the stages finally, and you got a chance to really perform some of the songs that you released in early 2020.
Sure, yeah.
In January of 2020, finally, like, give them life.
Totally.
Across the country.
Sure.
You were talking off camera. You played with Chris Allen. You played with by yourself with
Absolutely.
your band.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of shows in 2021.
Sure.
How did it feel to get back and you know, to play these songs finally? Like, how was it?
I mean, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like playing live. You know, as much as I love to be in the studio and as much as I love to write songs, the thing that really lights my fire as a creative is performing live. And so, obviously, you know, COVID was really, really difficult because really the only outlet that I had was recording myself or going live on like a camera, which is great. And I think that that's like, a lot of people really thrive on that. That's not my chosen way of doing it, although I'm coming around to like how that's a great outlet and a great way to show yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because like you said, like a lot of those songs that I was playing on the road, I never had the chance to play live before.
Right.
So just to like hear those songs fill a live space, like even just a simple thing like that, even if it's in sound check, something that like we had never played before or performed for people, like it was interesting because like a lot of it wasn't new to me because those songs I wrote like a year before and they were so deeply a part of me, but they were very new to, I mean, especially in the way that we arranged them to the people who were coming to see them. So at the end of the day, I think people really enjoyed the shows. I mean, we sold out Boston, we sold out New York, and Mercury Lounge, like I've always wanted to sell out that venue. So
I mean, we saw some videos of you in City Winery just rocking it, and people were pins and needles.
Very, very, very grateful to my fans and the people who come to support me, and the people who are, and literally, like I almost still can't believe it that like people would want to buy a ticket to come see me play my songs, like because like you know it's one of those things where like I would do this for free, but obviously I want to make a livelihood doing it, and the fact that like there are that many people who want to show up to see me and my band perform my songs is the best thing in the world, and like that's a really simple thing that I constantly like remind myself of. Is you know this is what you do it for, and to have the opportunity to go out and do that. Was really, really amazing in 2021, and it only like gets me more excited to create more songs and give my fans and my supporters and my family, anybody who's listening to my music, putting more out in the universe for them to get to know me.
Beautiful.
So that they can experience in person with me sometime down the road.
Let me ask you about some of your songs, a couple of your songs that are fascinating because you have such a great way of capturing these universal like really deep emotions into your beautiful songs. Like one of them is Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Right? And the reason why I love it is because you capture, I think, something that we all kind of like feel one way or another, and it's that like bittersweet emotional baggage of going back home.
Yeah.
Man, let me ask you that. Like, why do you think that is, Dylan? Why do you think that regardless of what country we are from or what career we're from, like that concept of going back home is always like so like, it's so weird.
And that's a great, man, you're asking great questions.
No, man, you're the great guest.
Thank you. I think what's really like unique about that situation to me, and that's a great way of like putting it, is I think that I have like not a complicated relationship with going home because I love going home. But I think that what can be bittersweet about it in the way that you said it is that this place, and I was lucky enough to like really only live in one place. I've lived in Williamsport, Pennsylvania my whole life. Like I spent, you know, when I was born to 18 there, and I'd never moved houses, like I never went anywhere else. And I think anybody might have a different experience had they moved around, but like my family was always there. And like having roots like that to come back to, I mean, the reason that I wrote that song is because I felt like it's a beautiful thing to have this place that doesn't change and this thing that's so stable in my life as a measuring stick for the way that time moves and people change. And so I literally wrote that song, that first verse is me sitting in my backyard just writing about the things that I used to do while I was here and how different my perspective was back then. I mentioned my friend Maverick before. Dylan and Maverick was the band that I was in, and like that's what we would do, man. Like sometimes I still sit in my backyard in the seats we used to sit in and be like, oh my God, like this, I sat here like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, with the guitar I was playing back then, with my buddy, we were 16 at the time, not worried about anything, but just like having fun and creating. And that's a beautiful thing, and like that's like, you know, it's something to always kind of hold on to, but it's also can be bittersweet to see how like people move away from things like that. Because people change, and like the things that used to get them super going, and the things, you know, the path that they had planned for their life is not necessarily the way that it's working out, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I just think that like watching people kind of change in general is a bittersweet thing. And Pennsylvania to me, like the reason why that song is called Pennsylvania is because that's what it is for me. To see, and not just like friends, but family too. To see like
100%.
how my parents have changed, and see like how the house changes and how my teachers, like who I see around town, change, because it's a small town, and I really I love talking to people, and I love hearing about like where their life has taken them to this point, because it makes me feel better about the path that I'm on, and just kind of like realizing that even though it doesn't go necessarily the way that you wanted it to, it's all working out for the best. There's nothing you can do to change the way the universe is going to unfold itself.
Beautiful.
All you can really do is have perspective on it, and just know
and make the best of it.
And make the best of it. So
beautiful, man.
That's what that song means to me. And I really love that song. So thank you.
Man. Absolutely.
Asking.
Absolutely, Dylan. Oh my God. Wow. So I have so much to ask you, but I have to ask you about the Bon Jovi thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because I know you talk about it ad nauseum, but my audience may not know you opened for Bon Jovi Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, man.
I mean, the Garden. I've seen some shows in the Mecca, because that's the Mecca.
It is the Mecca, yeah.
And it is, goddamn, it's just another level.
It is
some of the best shows that I've seen you two there a couple times. It's like shit, you know?
They're incredible. I love you too.
So, man, couple questions with this experience. First of all, how was that whole thing, that whole Live Nation competition, and also like, how was the experience? Let's start with that one. How was the competition?
The competition was, we were doing, so it was Live Nation, and I had just, I was in school, like I was telling you, I started writing music as Dylan Rockoff in school, and I'd released an EP and then an album in school, and I just released the album, played a release show at the Red Room in Boston, which I think is hopefully still open. But that was an awesome show, sold out, bunch of people like singing, dancing, and that was like the video that we submitted as the our entry for the competition. And so, I didn't really think too much of it. My mom has been a huge Bon Jovi fan her entire life, and like that's her like favorite artist.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, wow, how full circle would that be? My mom like really was like, you should do this. I think you could win it. And I was like, okay, like I'll humor my mom, like I'll submit for the contest, And my manager was on board. He's like, all right, let's get the footage together. Let's send it in, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. So then I think they ended up picking the top 10 contestants who got like the most likes or shares or something like that. And then they reviewed those 10 applicants, and somehow they ended up picking up me and my band. So we went to Madison Square Garden, opened for Bon Jovi, which was
unbelievable.
Like,
So tell me about that day, because you're gonna be back there headlining your own stuff. It's the first of many times with Dylan Rockoff at the Garden.
Sure,
But tell me, what you must obviously have been nervous.
Yeah.
What were you feeling backstage at the Garden? Like, what were you wearing? Like, what are the details that when you close your eyes?
I remember that day pretty vividly, actually. I remember that we had gotten to New York City the day before. We were all in a hotel room together. My guys, my band who played with me when I was in college, who are still some of my best friends. I just talked to 2 of them today. We were at the hotel. We took the bus over to Madison Square Garden, and like they almost didn't let us in because we were in like a really dinky van, and they were like, "What are you here for? We're here to play tonight." That
side entrance by the train station, by the Penn station, the side of the arena.
And then I remember that there were. Like workers, they're all union like stagehands there, so we're not allowed to like touch any of our stuff, which is like, okay, that's cool. Like we usually have to carry our stuff in and break our backs to like carry our equipment. We didn't, which was nice. Then we got to watch Bon Jovi, and the whole lighting crew and everything set up, which is awesome to see how it all comes together. Yeah. And then we had to chill for like 2 hours, so they had like a nice room set up with us to just for us to just like hang out and eat and drink and all that stuff. Then we got to see Bon Jovi soundcheck. Incredible. And then I think that one of the coolest parts, and then obvious other than the show, was like getting to sound check in that room when there was nobody else in it. Yeah. Because obviously it's great to play to people, but like just to hear my songs that I wrote fill that
in the Garden. What a feeling. You know what?
Like you said, it's the Mecca, so like that's like the best sound that there is, like in a live space, Yeah. So just to like hear my music fill that space. But yeah, you were asking about how I felt like before the show.
That's beautiful.
So long story short, we sound checked. We had a long time to hang out before the show. Obviously, I had a lot of family and friends coming, so like I peeked out of the green room for a little bit to say hi. And I was definitely nervous. I mean, man. It's a lot of people. But I remember like I never meditated before, but my band was like, we should meditate and make sure that like we're all in the zone. So we did. We all did like a group meditation, and I was like, okay, that feels good. I feel like I'm centered, But then all the nerves came back when we got to like the area underneath
There's
the stage.
There's only so much meditation you can do.
I'll tell you a funny story. So that day, I remember I was wearing black pants, because I usually wear black pants when I perform, and like a pinkish hoodie. Yeah. And my hoodie had like the backstage pass that they gave us on it. Sure. And right before the set, my manager was like, yo, take your hoodie off. You got your stage pass on. You can't go out looking like a clown like that. And I'm like, you're right. So I took the hoodie off, and I was wearing like a pinkish t-shirt underneath. First of all, my band took the stage, and my heart's racing. And it's time for me to take the stage because they like start playing, and then I'm walking up, I'm like running too fast up the stairs and not estimating how far away the stairs are from each other.
Right.
And if you look closely at the video that we have online, like I tripped and I
God.
almost ate face. Like
that's great.
Almost ate face, but I caught myself. I don't know. There was some divine intervention there to be like, no,
Yeah,
don't ruin
the
this
garden
moment.
gods.
The garden gods were
Yeah.
good to me that night. They're like, don't ruin this.
I love it.
Took the stage, and the thing that always like, it's always like really nerve-wracking to like go on stage. Once you get into the rhythm and once you start get going, you kind of settle in. And
Yeah.
the thing that was weird for me was like, it was hard to see people's faces, which I can usually do on like a smaller venue.
Right.
Which was a little intimidating, but yeah, I mean, the crowd was into it. Like they sang my songs, and like, you know, the garden was rocking, man. Like,
Man, I love it.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like I always tell people, it's a blessing and a curse. Obviously, it's a beautiful thing and an incredible life-changing opportunity. And I thank Bon Jovi and his team so much for giving me that opportunity. But it's bittersweet, like we were talking about with Pennsylvania, because I'm going to spend the rest of my life wanting to get back to that, which is a great thing, and it's a good thing to.
Oh,
I will, and
absolutely.
you know, I believe that I will, and I would love to be a headliner there
Hell
one day.
yeah.
But just the taste of that, like that's like, you know, I'm going to be chasing
Hell
that
yeah,
forever,
man.
which is awesome.
Hell yeah. We'll do a special episode when you headline
Let's
the
do
garden
it.
from the
Let's
stage.
do it. It's on.
With the thing behind us.
Sure.
The arena. Awesome, Dylan.
Yeah.
Listen, man, you've said it all. We could talk to you for hours, man. But
Yeah, I'd love to. We'll have to do this again sometime.
I think you're gonna play a song for us. Is that the rumor?
Totally. I found somebody, I say you don't cross my mind. And she doesn't know that your favorite place is still mine. Now I take the long way home, avoid what I can't let go. I don't always think about you, but sometimes I do, 'cause sometimes I drive through all of the streets we used to on First Avenue, 'cause sometimes I don't even know where I'm going at first. All of the turns that I had to unlearn, back to the surface, the feeling of all that we were. I don't always think about you till First Avenue, that's when I do. That's when I do. I guess the truth is I can't leave memories behind. When she asks about you, I hesitate every time, every time. I don't always think about you, but sometimes I do, 'cause sometimes I drive through all of the streets we used to on First Avenue, 'cause sometimes I don't even know where I'm going at first. All of the times that I had to unlearn, back to the surface, the feeling of all that we were. I don't always think about you till First Avenue, that's when I do. Always think about you, but sometimes I do, 'cause sometimes I drive through all of the streets we used to on First Avenue, 'cause sometimes I don't even know where I'm going at first. All of the turns that I had to unlearn, back to the surface, the feeling of all that we were. I don't always think about you till First Avenue, that's when I do.
Unbelievable, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely,
what an
my
honor,
pleasure.
brother. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
That was unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.